This is Andi Purewal for Boxing News. I'm joined by Matt Macklin here at Your Call. Matt, firstly, how are you? How is life treating you?
Yeah, good. Not too bad at all. Not too bad. Always glad to be at Your Call. We're just speaking off camera there to a few of the other guys. I don't know how many times I've been here for boxing, but I don't think I've ever had a bad night here.
It's obviously an iconic venue, but for you, what's the one memory, Matt, which springs to mind? Whether it be back in your fighting days, or if it might be from a night which you can remember from watching others fight?
So many, but I think probably the one that jumps out is probably the first time I was ever here. I was only, 14. It was a junior ABAs. It was the hottest day of the year. It was like a sauna in here. There was there were both ages of the junior ABAs. So something like, it felt like there were 30 or 40 fights on. And the kid from our my amateur boxing club was one of the heavier kids in the second age group. So we were here to the end. Ricky Hatton boxed that day as an amateur. And I'd never seen him box, but everyone was talking about him, and he lived up to the hype.
Matt, obviously we return this weekend for Caroline Dubois, her chance to become the IBO titleist. Obviously there's a lot of talk whether or not people class the IBO as a title. Where do you stand on it?
No, I don't class it as one of the bona fide world titles, but it's. I would put it probably on par, give or take, depending on what weight division and who's in that division at the time, with maybe a European title in terms of level. It's not, obviously the European title's an established, legitimate title. The IBO, it's not one of the bona fide world titles. It isn't. But there have been some good, it's pretty solid IBO champions. You know what I mean? Maybe just not quite world, not that top tier.
What are you expecting from her main event bout with Rodriguez?
Rodriguez will be competitive, I think. She's experienced, she's tough. But I think Caroline's on her way. She's a star in the making. She's been really, really impressive as a professional. Makes you think, really, if the Olympics had come along, if she just missed the Olympics, because I think she was only 19, she was 20 by the time that happened, because they went a year later, didn't they, because of COVID. But so she was 19 when she had qualified. Had she not qualified for those, I wonder would she have stuck around and maybe gone to the next Olympics. If she had, and she'd been that little bit more mature, I think she might have been a gold medalist. She's that I think she's that good. That said, I think she's made for the pro game. I think she's been really impressive. Her pro debut was really impressive, but it was probably her worst performance because she was a little bit over-eager. Other than that, she hasn't really put a foot wrong. She's been pretty flawless. So it's good that she's getting the main event treatment. That'll help sort of, build her star quality, build her profile. And she's getting better at that as well. She was quite shy at the start, but she's getting more comfortable doing all the press and media obligations.
It's going to be a bit of a tricky night for Shane McGuigan, because obviously he's got Caroline here and Ellie Scotney over at Wembley Arena.
I said, we were talking before, I said he's probably better off getting the tube. I know they might have a taxi on standby, but if he hits traffic, he's in trouble. Where, I'd say he's probably better off getting the tube across. And someone joked, what about a helicopter? I said, I don't think Caroline's earning that much yet that she can afford to fly him in, but, well, maybe she is, I don't know.
Does Sky not have a helicopter on standby? Matt, just moving on with the card, Viddal Riley, what are you hoping to see from his up-and-coming bout?
More of the same. Like watching him box. He's got a nice, smooth style to him. He boxes in a nice, smooth rhythm, lets his shots go, combinations, works off the jab, mixes it up, body and head. I've been impressed with him.
Callum Simpson in a very interesting bout. Obviously, speaking to Andy Scott earlier, he said that it's one which, I wouldn't necessarily say it's 50-50, but one which, if he's not on it, could very well see him fall on the wrong side of a result. Yeah.
Again, an experienced opponent who's, won on the road, can travel. And Callum Simpson isn't that experienced. Yeah. Definitely got ability. He's definitely got power. But he's a work in progress. So, these are the fights where, it should pose him a few problems that he'll have to solve in the fight. But coming out the other side of it, he's a better fighter for it. So, these are invaluable. These are crucial learning fights in your career.
Matt, just moving away from this card, obviously there is that show clash with Matchroom, Joe Opetaia versus Jordan Thompson. Just get your thoughts on their main event.
Yeah, well, I think it's an ambitious step for Jordan Thompson, but I think it's a win-win for him. You know what I mean? If he loses but does okay, I mean, he'll be gutted, but you know what I mean? He'll have improved. He'll have fought for the world. You know what I mean? I don't think he's got nothing to lose really in this fight, Jordan Thompson. And got so much to gain. He's managed by Brian Peters, who obviously managed me and manages Katie Taylor. So I've been getting the inside track on it, and it was a good offer. And I think it was the right thing for him to do, to take this shot. He's a good puncher. He has got good ability. I think Jay Opetaia, is beatable. So I think from a risk-reward ratio, it was a no-brainer to take this fight.
Just away from that one, obviously this past weekend, I don't know whether you watched or not, but Conor Benn returned to the ring for the first time in 16, 17 months. Did you watch his fight? What did you make of his performance? No,
I seen a few clips and read the report. I know he went the distance. That was all I seen, really.
You have any interest on catching up on it, or?
Not really. I didn't. I knew it was. I don't know. It's a bit of a mad situation, that one, isn't it?
That's fair enough, Matt. Just moving forwards, Wood-Warrington. I want to get your thoughts on that fight, Matt. Obviously, it's one which is split opinion, divided everybody's thoughts. Which side of the fence do you sit on?
I think it's a great fight. I was contemplating going up to it, but I can't. I'll be on baby duty.
Take them with you.
I'm away this weekend, so I won't get away. Especially that, I'm working this weekend, but if to just go and watch that as a fan, I'd be in trouble. But no, great fight. It's not a given at all, but I do fancy Wood, I think, in that fight.
What's the difference for you?
I think the power. I think timing. I think Warrington's probably, his best days are behind him. I think. He's a very energetic fighter. A fighter, a ferocious pace. He's got a young man style, Warrington, and I think Wood is probably a bit more calculated. And he carries good power. And those two wins. The two fights with Lara. He went up in my estimations. Wood, he did. I thought he showed a bit of internal steel in that rematch, going in there and getting the win the way he did. So, no, I fancy Wood.
Matt, just moving forwards again, one of the most, I'd argue, highly anticipated domestic clashes is only a few weeks away. Getting back on Sky, Buatsi-Azeez. Just your thoughts on that fight, please, Matt.
Good fight. I think Buatsi, solid favourite. I know he didn't look great last time. But when I say he didn't look great, he wasn't exciting. He didn't show us how good he is. He stayed in first gear, but he still won every second of every round. I don't think he'll be able to stay in first gear against Dan Azeez. I think Dan Azeez's style, his aggression, will make Buatsi fight, and I'm hoping that it brings the best out of Buatsi.
Another great fight which we've seen them doing the media rounds recently, Bam Rodriguez and Sonny Edwards. It's a fight which everybody's spoken about, Bam Rodriguez and Sonny Edwards. It's a highly entertaining fight when it comes around in December. What do you expect to see? Well,
I see Bam chasing Sonny, trying to catch him, and Sonny just being evasive and trying to get out the way and frustrate him and outpoint him. I don't know who will win. I haven't sort of broke it down or made my mind up on what I think is going to happen, but it's a great fight. I don't know if it'll be a great action-packed fight, but I think it'll be a very tactical, interesting battle of styles. And, you know, Sonny's a great talker, isn't he? And I'm sure he'll wind Bam Bam up in the beforehand and all the rest of it. So yeah, I think they're probably the two best guys in the division fighting each other, and you know that's what we want to see.
We haven't had it announced yet, but currently the Ring Magazine title isn't on the line. Is that a surprise to you? The Ring title is not on the line at the minute?
A little bit. It's a unification, isn't it? And I do think they're probably the best two guys in the division. So yeah, I don't know why that is, and it's a shame.
Again, another great fight which has just been announced, Devin Haney and Regis Prograis 140. Devin moving up. How do you think he fares with Regis?
I probably favour Haney. Youth, freshness. But again, not given. You know, Prograis, good fighter, good southpaw skills, nice boxer. Haney's moving up in weight. I think he's fairly big. He was fairly big at 135, so... you know, and he's young and he can grow into it. So I think, but you know, some people say he's moving up to fight Prograis because they don't want to fight Shakur. You know, maybe that's true as well. I don't know. But look, it's a good fight. I do fancy Haney, but you never know.
Matt Taylor, Camera 2. Will Katie Taylor get revenge against Chantel Cameron?
I don't know. I thought she looked old in her last fight, Katie Taylor. Now, maybe she was a little bit overcooked in training. Her legs certainly were gone. Her legs were gone. I don't know if they're gone. They're just gone for that fight because of maybe she overdid it in training, or maybe they're gone because she's older now. She's had such a long career, so many fights, so many training camps, and you know, nobody beats Father Time.
Any interest in Fury-Ngannou?
I mean, a little bit because it's Fury, isn't it? So there's always a little bit of intrigue, but nowhere near like, say, you know, I think when McGregor fought Mayweather, I think people were interested in that because Mayweather was older, he was retired, you know what I mean? And McGregor at that time really had that hype around him. He'd knocked out Aldo with that, you know, in a few seconds. You know what I mean? He really had that hype. But I don't think anyone, you know, listen, Deontay Wilder couldn't take Fury out. You know what I mean? And he did hit him. He caught him. He had him down, and he couldn't do him. So I think it's a fairly, yeah.
What do you expect, Ben?
Yeah, I think Fury will do whatever he wants to do.
Just sticking with kind of those heavyweights, though, obviously we recently saw Joe Joyce fall short again in his rematch with Zhilei. A stunning performance from Zhilei, about third round stoppage win. What did you make of what Zhang produced this time around?
Listen, great knockout. You know, left hand to the body, right hook combination, beautiful shot. I think it would have knocked out a lot of heavyweights. Although, you know, Joyce, who had looked so rock solid, punch resistance wise, before the first Zhang fight, you know, now all of a sudden he's been made human, hasn't he? You know, he's been humanised, so he's probably lost that sort of aura, that invincibility factor, which is never real anyway. But you know, when you've got that kind of hype round you, it can, you know, it could happen a lot more often now to him, because when a fighter's got that invincibility factor about them, and it's getting hard in there, opponents are, you know, less likely to dig in. So I'll rephrase that. The fact, when it gets hard in there, knowing that the opponent can get taken out with a single good shot might make that opponent hang in there a bit longer, tough it out a bit more, because it gives him hope. Where when that fighter looks, that same boxer has got that invincibility factor around him and he's on top of the other fighter, he's more likely to break that fight, the opponent's will, if that makes sense.
There's a lot of talk about what's next for Joe. After his fight, he said he has no intention of retiring. Some people suggesting maybe it should be something he should consider now. What are your thoughts on what should be next for Joe Joyce?
Well, it depends what his expectations are and ambitions are now, because I would imagine that at world level, you know, it's a long road back, because it's, you know, Joe Joyce now, he's like, where's if you get offered that fight, the money's not going to be there. You know, you don't get the credit that you know, if you'd have fought Joe Joyce when he was undefeated and he was mandatory challenger, or you know, and the money was there, then it looked like a hard fight then, but you know, there was reward was there. When now you beat him, so what? You know, Zhang just knocked him out twice. You're not mandatory challenger. The money won't be there, so it's still a hard fight possibly. But now the reward isn't there, so the risk reward doesn't stack up anymore. So, in order for him to get straight back up there with one fight, I just don't see what's in it. For the handful of opponents that could probably fight him that he would beat to get back up there, they're probably not going to fight Joe Joyce now because it's not worth it for them. So I think it's a long road back for Joe. So does he at his age, because he's not a spring chicken, you know, has he got the motivation and the ambition for that long road back? I don't know. I wouldn't have thought so, but maybe he has.
For Zhilei on the other hand, he had a hero's reception when he returned to China. A lot of talk about what's next for him. Would you have any interest, and what do you think would happen in a bout between him and Anthony Joshua?
Definitely interested in it because, you know, he's a big guy. I think he's 20 stone, southpaw. Bangs hard. Obviously, Joshua beat him in the amateurs, so they've got history. Definitely, that's a fight I'd like to watch, and I think a lot of people would.
This stage in their careers, who do you think has the edge and that you'd slightly favour?
Look, he's coming off a couple of great wins, and even the draw the loss to Hrgovic. A lot of people felt he was unlucky in that one, so he's kind of. You know, his share price is quite high right now, where Joshua's kind of fizzled a little bit, hasn't he? He's had the loss to Usyk, and he's had the win against Franklin, and then Helenius. He's all right, you know, didn't set the world on fire, so he's gone off the boil, but Zhang's quite hot right now. But that doesn't mean that Joshua wouldn't get up for Zhang, you know what I mean, and beat him. That doesn't mean that. So, but it's a fight that I'd love to see that fight.
Not comparing Zhang and Usyk in any way, shape or form, but obviously both of them having that one common factor being southpaw. Do you feel like that?
Totally different southpaw.
But do you feel like that might be something which might entice AJ to overcome the demons of the Usyk fight?
I don't know. I don't think that you know, the southpaw. It was a totally different southpaw, completely different style. You know, Usyk's very difficult to hit. He's constantly offsetting you. He's so elusive, mobile. Totally different fight. You know, I don't think AJ would struggle hitting Zhang. You know, but he's going to get hit back as well. You know, and he's a much bigger hitter than Usyk.
Right, Matt. I'm sure there's other people waiting to speak to you, so I appreciate your time as always. Thanks for speaking to you.
Nice one. Cheers.